this video, I'm going to be drilling down for a socket, which is going to be in here, so I need to remove this insulation. It does just push in. It's only glass fibre, so really, don't breathe in the dust. You probably want a bit of a dust mask on. For the purpose of the video, I'm literally just going to take that off, put that there. I've then got obviously the back of this stud wall. Now my socket on the other side of this wall is going to come out about 300. And a pencil. Off of that wall, it's going to be 10 to 15 mil of hard wall on this wall, plus the skim, so let's say 15 to 20 mil at the end of that. So if I allow 300 to the centre of the socket, plus 20 mil for that finished wall level, that brings me up 320. I'm going to mark 320, that will be the centre of my socket. Set that centre of the socket, and then I'm going to measure the middle of that stud, which is going to be about here. Okay. Now the hole size that I'm going to be putting down through that is going to be a 20 mil hole. So by the time that's finished, with the plasterboard on and the skim on the end of that, I'm going to have easily a 50 mil depth on that. The circuit will obviously be protected by an RCD as well, so covering all the bases. I also in this will want to have a Cat 6 point as well, which will be on this side of the stud, and it's a good idea, obviously if you're following the regulations, to separate high voltage, low voltage, and extremely low voltage cables, or sorry, extra low voltage cables, away from each other. I usually sort of space my cables, I would say at least 25 millimeters apart if I'm clipping along a joist, maybe even further than that actually if I'm thinking about it. I'll do a video on that and I'll show you how I clip that along actually, because when I sit visually, then I'll measure it and let you know. It's a bit hard to picture it in my head. 25 mil minimum, I would have said. Obviously, when I put them through the joist, I don't put them through the same hole. You can pick up magnetic field, and it can induce a current in the cable next to it. So, the more cables you've got going through a hole, that's more magnetic fields, which will then induce a stronger current through your low voltage cable, which will then destroy the equipment at the other end. And also, those currents that it's picking up, if the cable isn't designed to take that amount of current that's being induced through it, obviously you catch fire and melt and all sorts of problems. So I'm going to be at least on this side of the stud, so I'm going to come over right over here. And I'm going to drill down through there. Now, obviously the fact that I've made this floor, I've put these joists in, I know where the joists are, I can see where they are downstairs as well, which is quite lucky. But if you haven't got that, obviously you don't know where to drill down, you don't know how to drill down. So how are we going to get that position? Well, we need 2 points of reference. So my first, obviously, easy point of reference is off this wall. These measurements that I've measured, so 320 to the centre of that hole, 520 to the centre of this hole. Those are my measurements off of this wall. And then I need another point of reference from that wall. I don't know if you can see it, but basically that wall there. So I'm going to measure all the way along here. I need to keep my tape measure parallel with this wall here. So it's got to be parallel. If I start to drift off, the measurement's going to increase. So I need to keep it parallel. And from that wall that's right over that way, this stud is 310 centimeters, so 3,100 millimeters, 3,100 millimeters off of that wall, 320 to 520 millimeters off that wall, and then when I go downstairs, I should be able to measure that and find those reference points. Okay. At this point, you would be well, what's the word I'm looking for? Well advised to go downstairs and see what you've got. Obviously, if you've got a plasterboard ceiling, there's not really much you can see. If it's open like mine is, go down there, have a look, make sure there's no pipe work or anything that you're going to hit. Let's pretend that I don't have that ability. If there's a downlight nearby, I could pop the downlight out the ceiling, shine a torch in there, have a quick look around, use a mirror, see if I can find out what's around. I mean, I've had it literally before where you drop a downlight out and straight behind it is some pipes or whatever. So you never know what other trades are going to be doing. Once it's all covered up, you can't see it. So let's pretend I can't see that. I've got no access. I've got no clue what's going on underneath that floor. I don't even know if there's joists there or anything. Again, usually what you would do is pull back the carpet and see which way the floorboards are going. In this case, I've got chipboard flooring, and when you run flooring over joists, if the flooring is going left to right, it means the rafters, the joists are going up and down. So they cross over each other for strength. They never run together. So my floorboards, or my jungle group flooring in this case, is running left to right. I know that my span of my joist is going from side to side rather than from front to back. If I wanted to, I could probably cut a hole out here just to see what was going on. Something else that I can look for is I've drawn lines here to help me get all my screws in level. I'm looking for signs of basically joist. So here I've got a joist, and here I've got a joist. In fact, come to think of it, which is a good part for this video, is that this part here I've carcassed out for a future staircase at some point, if we ever get planning to separate the two buildings. So just in this area here, right above this wall, the joists change direction. They're running this way, which means my floorboards are now running this way. So this line that I've got here, I can see that there's a joist there. Can't pull that out of the way for you to see. So again, these are the kind of things that as a tradesperson experience you get used to seeing. So what you need to do in all cases is assess the situation, see what you've got, look for clues, look for signs. If I've got cables underneath the floor or there's pipe work, I always label the floor up and write cables or pipes so that the next person who comes after me can see what's going on. It really annoys me when you go to cut a floor up and then there's pipes there that you have absolutely no idea they were there. It doesn't take long just to write a few words, or diagram, well not diagram, but a few words, hatched out area with pencil or permanent marker. I always carry a permanent marker in my pocket for those reasons. It just helps everybody get along. So here, luckily enough, I've drawn a line. I can see where that joist is. I can see where this joist is. I'm not going to have any problems here or here. When you're drilling down, again, I've got my drill. I've got it set to the lowest speed, give it more grunt. I'm using the Armeg stubby wood beavers. I like this drill, I like this setup. So when I drill down, I've got my hand on the bottom. I'm making sure that this sideways movement isn't to slap my knuckles against the wood or trap my arm in between a rafter or a joist or anything like that. I start off slowly, I get it fitting in, and then I can feel how it's going to kick, how the drill is going to react. And when I go down, to start off with, I'm really putting my force behind it. I'm really pushing. Well, actually, to the light, with the auger bits, you don't have to. With a spade bit, you would, but I'm keeping that pressure on. Once it stops spinning, once it stops pulling, what's happened is the you see that one there? Yeah. What's happened is that the corkscrew on the end of the auger has come out of the back of the 4x2, and there's no longer anything to pull that auger bit through. So I know when I get to that point where it stopped pulling, I've reached the back of the timber. At that point, I clear the hole out, which is what you can see here. and then I know that I'm very close to going through, and I start to then push with one hand, but pulling and getting ready to pull back hard with the other hand. So just as I push this in, I'm sort of, I know it's hard to explain, but I'm pushing down but holding back at the same time. Getting ready to release my finger on the trigger as well. Right. Just have a quick check. There we go. And as soon as it went through, I pulled it out. And interestingly as well, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll try and bring it to the camera. You probably can't see it. But in there, I've got a mixture of the pine timber from the uprights, and then this sort of darker sort of wood chip from the floor. So you can see when it starts to go through the auger bit hole, and you start seeing this flooring material coming out, you can tell that you've gone through the stud and you're actually going through the floor material. So just look out for little signs like this. I can now see all the way through that hole. There's nothing underneath it. Again, the worst thing in the world is when you look through that hole and you can see pipework straight away. It's the worst feeling in the world. Your heart sinks, you know. Again, if I was working on a job where I was trying to get cables to this, because again, it's been about a year since I've been off the tools now that I've been teaching, so a lot of this stuff is starting to fade away, which is why I'm trying to do these videos to get it all out on video so that I can then refer back to it as well before that knowledge is lost. So it's just reminding me that actually what I would do in this instance, if I was getting cables to this point, is I would have got a 6-inch or 4-inch hole saw here for an access panel. And so let me sort of show you what I'm talking about. So I keep a range of hole saws. I've got a 6-inch one, I've got a 5-inch one, I've got a 4-inch one, 3-inch one, all for different applications. If you are going to cut the floor up, in my experience, and it's going to be carpeted over or anything like that, you're better off having a nice size hole to work with, because then as you do go through, if you do hit a joist or something, you've got enough space either side of it. You know, if I put a 2-inch joist across this, at least I've got a gap either side of that to get my hand in or get my my rods up through. Whereas, you know, you make a small hole and you catch the edge of a joist, all of a sudden you've got a nice little sliver left over, and that's no good to anybody. Also, as well, if you use a bigger hole and you do sort of come across the top of a joist, you've got enough to fix down onto. I know people use those, I forget who makes it now, but they make those access panels, don't they, that, you know, cuts a hole saw, cuts a bit of a groove, and then you put a plastic cap in there. You know, they're fine, they're okay. Personally, I prefer to put timber in afterwards, like a piece of batten, and then screw down to that. So a nice, you know, a couple of screws either side of the hole to hold the batten up, and then something substantial on top of that to support it. Again, maybe I should make a video on that as well. But then, I guess the point I'm saying is, what I would have done, let's put that there, I would have drilled my hole. So there's my access hole to get the cable to the point that I'm coming to. Once I've removed that, I can then get my hand in there and have a look, shine a torch round. I've got rods with a torch that go on the end, so you can sort of poke that in, have a look around. I've got a little, let me find it. You can tell that I don't use it that often, but I've got a little mirror. So back in the day when you couldn't get your phone underneath the floors, I used to use a little mirror to sort of have a peek round and have a look round. Unlike the dentist having a look in the mouth of a tooth before they take the tooth out, you know. But obviously nowadays you can get your phone under there, you can shine a light round, you can use it to record as well and actually look through that camera. But then what you can also do is get your hand in there and feel around for pipes, okay? So before I would have even drilled that down, that's actually what I would have done. Because you've got to get a cable there anyway, you need an access panel to get the cable up, you know, you can't suddenly magically get it up through this hole from wherever it's coming from. So yeah, I would have done that access panel first, then I would have drilled that down, and in that way I would have known if there was anything there. Again, all these things come to me as I'm talking about it. In reality, you know, when you get on the job, you're always assessing the situation. We're looking through, we're looking for clues, we're getting pictures of the puzzle. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You get all the pieces of information, and they help you formulate a plan that you're then going to go with. And then sometimes you do something and think, oh, actually, I'm going to stop, I'm going to change direction. Now that I've got this new information, I can formulate a new plan. And that's what happens. You're working with every single piece of information you've got to get the best result at the end of it for yourself and for the client. And I can't stress how important it is that we get a good job for the client, because they're the important person out of all this. They're paying for the job. They're the people that are going to recommend you time and time again if you're good. So yeah, most important person. Right, I hope that's been of some help. I will just drill this last hole while I'm recording. Again, I know that there's nothing under there. I can see from this hole here. I've actually got a big hole here that I can see through. Let me just show you guys. There's a big hole here that I can see through. But I will drill that again, just for the benefit of those watching. Again. Hand on the back of the drill, pushing down. Keeping it square as well. You need to keep those holes square. So at this point I'm pulling back. Okay, clear the hole. I can now start to see the material for the actual wood chip coming through. So I know that I'm close. Pulling back, pulling back. Right, okay, we're nearly there. There we go. There you go. One thing to be careful of as well, guys, is selecting the right tool for the job. So for instance, these auger bits come with quite a long corkscrew on the end of that pulls the drill through. That's quite dangerous for pipe work on the other side of something that you can't see. If you're not sure what's on the other side of the or whatever it is you're drilling, the wall or the floor, a hole saw might be better, because you can get it started with a hole saw, and then once you're started and you've started to get the actual hole saw in and the pilot's done its job, you can take the pilot drill bit out and then just go through with the hole saw. And obviously being flat, effectively like this, being the fact that it's flat, once you take that pilot drill out, then you've got less that's going to protrude through the hole, and catch anything. Okay, this is a lot more gentle to use than an auger bit or a spade bit or anything like that. So just something to think about, the right tool for the right job. Well, I hope that has been of some help. Again, I'm only doing this for people that need some help or guidance or advice, haven't seen this kind of stuff at college. So, don't tear me to pieces. If you don't want to watch these videos, that's entirely up to you, but I promise you I'm doing it for the right reason. Take care, guys. Bye.